Hello my friends, welcome to Ride Review. Today we are checking out an electric scooter from Swiss brand VMAX. This scooter is the VX4. Now VMAX makes quite a few different scooters. This one is their flagship. It's kind of an all-arounder. It's got full suspension with about 2 inches worth of travel on there, so it can indeed handle some off-roading if you are feeling adventurous, but it's really designed more for commuting. It's got one of the best lighting and signaling arrays that I've seen on a scooter. It does fold down. This comes in a few different battery sizes. The standard range, which will get you about 34 miles of top range. There's a ST version, and the one we have right here is the GT, maximum range of 62 miles. So you know, that's you take that with a grain of salt, because you need to be maybe a little bit on the lighter side in terms of your weight, and also not be riding at maximum speed to really maximize that range, which we are going to be testing as part of this review. Now, in case you have not heard of VMAX before, let me tell you a little bit about them. So this is a Swiss company that has been making scooters since about 2015, so they're getting close to that decade mark, and they are really taking the Swiss reputation for quality to heart. They've become an OEM, which means that they own their own manufacturing facility for their scooters. So they build almost everything on these scooters in-house. I think it's everything except like the batteries and the tires. And they work with quality manufacturers for the batteries, you know, like Samsung and LG. One of the things I really love about VMAX is that they put a lot of priority into just quality and safety. They have some of the best lighting and signaling on their scooters that I've seen on anywhere. UL safety certifications as well for the batteries and for the entire scooter system, and they back it all up with a 24-month comprehensive warranty, which is quite good for a scooter. Now, the brand only sold in Europe up until last year, and now since they've entered the United States market, they've actually made a few tweaks to some of their models that are available here, the biggest of those being more power, more speed. You can actually get up to a top speed of 25 miles per hour on their scooters now, which is a significant increase from the EU models. But even with these improvements that have been made, they are actually cheaper here than in the EU. You know, over here we don't have a VAT or a value-added tax, which is quite a bit add-on to the price here, and so they've actually slashed the prices a bit compared to the European versions, which I'm a huge fan of. So without any further ado, let's dive into a quick overview of the VX4. Now, I have been riding this thing quite a bit, so there's a lot of dirt and stuff on here from my boots. I've put in, I don't know, about 20 miles or so on here. Now, as I mentioned, this is their flagship, and it is an all-around scooter, but it's really going for more of the commuting angle. It's got excellent lights. You've got the headlight mounted up high here on the top with an extra bonus reflector on it, side cutouts so that you can see it illuminated from the side. It's got turn signals that are very well done in the hand grips here, and so you can see these from the front, from the side, from the rear, and there's even more turn signals mounted onto the rear back here. So really going after the, just the signaling safety aspect of it. Those are all really must-haves if you're going to be commuting. Now, this does have suspension. You get a suspension fork up front with about 2 inches or so of travel, and then in the rear you've got more of a swing arm style suspension that's about a similar amount of travel. So you can take this off-road if you're feeling adventurous and you want to do it. Then this performs about as well as most similarly equipped scooters with tires this size. Like this is really your limiting factor if you want to go off-roading. These are 10-inch diameter tires. That does not give you a very good attack angle against bumps. So when the wheel is this small, it doesn't really matter how good your suspension is. There's only so much you can do. So this is good for occasional off-roading and adventuring, but mostly sticking to city streets is where you're going to get your best ride performance. Really very clean design on this whole thing. You can see a little bit of cabling from the brakes right here before it runs into the stem, but that's the only sign of any cabling anywhere on here. Nothing down here at the stem fold joints, no cables or anything like that showing up anywhere on the frame. It's very clean, and I like the all black design. I think that it's very sleek. It does limit your visibility from the side a bit, so be conscious of that. There's not really anything reflective on the sides of this, other than on the suspension fork right here. You've got some reflectors, but those are down really low. So, we could, these might be a little bit reflective. I bet they are, and the sides of the lights there. But just keep that in mind. People might not be able to see you as well as they could from the side. So ride defensively. And the battery is fully encased inside the deck here. So technically you can remove it, but it's going to take some time and some tools. It's not something you can just pop out and bring inside to charge, which is a bummer. I would really love to see that, but it's hard to, knock them too much for that, because that's very few scooters that I've seen can actually do that. So, hopefully someday people start doing it that way. It is a folding frame as well. So let's go ahead and fold that down just so you can see what that looks like. It is a two-stage fold. So even when you unlock the first bit, it's not gonna go. You've got to press down on this to unlock it, and then it'll start folding down. And it has a latching mechanism, but it's implemented, I don't know, it's a little bit funky. So it actually is fairly secure when it's just resting like this, because you've got this rubber to rubber connection right here, so it can't really slide around a lot. But it's still, it still can move, right? So if you're putting this in your car or something, it's getting bumped in the garage, it can slide around. If you want to carry it, there's this little thing right here, right, to connect it to the little bag hanger. So you've got to get those lined up. You can kind of lift this up. It's very fiddly to get in here. Come on, let's see if I can get it. It's very difficult, especially with one hand. Okay, so you can see I've got them lined up right there. And then now I can pick the whole scooter up. It's pretty hefty, about 64 pounds if you have the GT version here, and a little bit under 60 if you have the standard one. So, this works. It's reasonably secure if you're holding it carefully and not bumping it around. But it's not foolproof. Like if you bumped against the door or against the wall when you're carrying it at the right angle, that can jar loose, and then that would be a bad time if it swings open while you're carrying it. Now, and then when you set it down, it immediately unlatches, so then boom, it's ready to just, fold up and go. And folding it up is pretty easy, pop that there, snap it in. Pretty rigid steering column, not dampened at all, so that can limit performance at high speed. We'll talk about that more in the ride test. But my point about the latching mechanism here is I wish there was a way to make it stay latched while it's in that folded position. Let's run through the cockpit on here. Overall, I'm a big fan of how things are laid out. The grips feel awesome, nice rubbery grips, and they have kind of these little bars here that make it easier for your fingers to get a good grip. Fairly wide set of hand grips here for a scooter, and the display, mounted front and center right here. You can adjust the angle on that as you wish to really get it dialed in. A big, 3-4 finger levers on here for the brakes, so it's easy to get a good grip on those. This is a combined braking system. So the right one here, this is connected to your front wheel, and this is a drum brake housed right inside of there. So you have to put quite a bit of grip force into those to really get them to actuate, but you don't want to go overboard with the front brake and throw yourself over forwards. The brake that you're probably going to be using more often than not is the left one, which is connected to the rear brake, and this is actually a dual braking system. So there's a mechanical disc brake back here, 140 millimeter rotor on it. These are nut brakes, they're quality, they're solid. You do have to tighten up these cables occasionally. Since it's a mechanical brake, these will stretch over time compared to a hydraulic, which needs less frequent maintenance. But that's pretty easy to do. The barrel adjuster on here will do that for you. Now there's also an electronic brake back here. So this is the motor, right? And if you squeeze this brake lever just a little bit, like that much, not enough to activate the mechanical brake, this will activate the electronic brake. So when you do that, the motor is responsible for slowing the scooter down, and it's actually a regenerative brake. And so this will capture some of that kinetic motion, put it back into the battery. So you can really maximize your range that way. So, I would recommend, use that left lever more often than not. And then if you need some extra stopping power, you can use both of them to then activate that front drum brake. Coming on back up to the cockpit here, we're going to fire up the display. It is a very crisp, nice looking color display, TFTT, I think it's called. And it's pretty bright, we're kind of in some partial shade right here, but even in sunlight, I can make it out. So I think they've done a good job with this. Color displays can sometimes be a little bit difficult to see in the daylight, but it looks real nice. The settings menu on here is actually really well done. Easy to navigate, right? So you come in here to your user settings, you can, say okay. You can reset your timers. You can adjust how bright the backlight is. Change it from imperial over to metric. and you can unlock your top speed, which I have mine all the way up here at 21.7, but it actually goes faster than that, right? We'll talk more about that when we get into the ride test stuff. What else do we have in here? Zero start setting. This is if you want to be able to use the throttle from a dead stop or not. By default, you have to kick start it. So you got to push yourself moving on the scooter, then you can use the throttle. I recommend you just leave it that way. It's much safer. You don't have to worry about accidentally hitting the throttle when it's at a standstill and having it take off, because it's actually pretty zippy. Okay, so we're just gonna hold down settings here to get back out. There's more you can do in the settings, but we don't really need to worry about that stuff. Let's see, you have your blinker. Let's show off the lights, actually, because these are they're really quality lights. So we hold that down. Oh wait, no, we just short press it, that's right. We get our little light indicator, and this thing is bright. You know, I mean, you can see this in the daytime, definitely helps out on the visibility front, and you can see it on from the side as well. You get a rear light that, you know, again, is bright enough you can actually kind of see that during the daytime, and this is connected to the brakes, so you get that nice bright brake activation. Great safety touch. And then my favorite part, the blinkers here. Hit down left. These are this is so well done. You can see the blinkers up high and down low from the side, from the back, and then, you know, come in here from the side as well. That stands out nice. And from the front, I mean, that thing is surprisingly bright. You know, even in the daytime we can see that, which is pretty rare as turn signals go. You have left and right. They do show on here when they're flashing, just in case you forget, which is easy to do. And then rounding that out, you got the, you know, the flick bell on here, which is, again, very loud as flick bells go. I mean, this will get people's attention. People in a car might not be able to hear it, probably won't, but for, you know, pedestrians and stuff, it is solid. The throttle over here on the right grip, this is a variable thumb throttle. It's actually got quite a decent amount of play into it, which is, you know, nice for moderating your speed. Now, something that I really like about how this is set up is they only have two speed modes, Eco and then Sport. That is basically just changing your acceleration. The top speed is going to be the same in either one, depending on how you have it set. And I like that because you don't have to do a lot of fiddling around to go faster or slower. You can just use the throttle. There's a cruise control option that'll let you to, you know, kind of fine tune, set it at a specific speed, so you're not having to hold the throttle down the whole time. So, you know, again, we'll dive more into that on the ride test, but I think they've done a pretty solid job with just the control system, how it's laid out, how easy it is to interact with it. You know, just a very clean cockpit. Maybe one of the only downsides is there's not a whole lot of room to mount a phone. You kind of squeeze it in here on the side of the display, stick a phone mount up, but it is just a little bit crowded. But, you know, it's a scooter, so options are kind of limited for mounting stuff on your scooter handlebars for any brand you might get. Last touch for the display and everything up here is there's a little USB port just kind of hiding out underneath here, so you can you know, if you are using your phone while you ride, you can just plug that in and charge it up as you go. And you might actually want to do that because they have a smartphone app that pairs with this scooter that's actually pretty well done. It's got a lot of just like mapping features. You can use it for navigation. You can even have there's an option when you're using it for navigation to optimize for maximum battery saving. So it'll try to avoid, you know, really steep inclines and stuff like that, take you on a more flat route. And it automatically tracks your trips too. So you can just, you know, see all the rides that you've done. It gives you some fun metrics for each trip, so you can see how you're doing, and, you know, just in terms of your battery consumption and, you know, how much climbing you did versus flat riding, etc. All right, let's jump in and do some ride testing here. So hold down the power button. That will fire up the display. Adjust that angle up here just a little bit. Now, when it starts out, you are in eco mode, and I've got the speed unlocked on this one. For the US ones here, you can actually unlock the speed as high as 25 miles per hour. Now, normally in the display, it'll only go up to 21.7. So to fully unlock it, it's a little kind of a funky way to do it. You know, swift press the power button 5 times, and that unlocks it. It doesn't really show anything on the display to tell you that it's done that, but then you can go faster. So there's this little icon up here. There's circles on the top of the display. That means it is connected to the app. Let me pull that out here. We open up the VMAX app. We can come on over here into, well, let's see, dashboard, and you can see we're connected. We get the, you know, the power readout. So we've got a remaining range of 32 miles. We're at 57%. But, you know, you can also see I've ridden 19 miles to get down to that 57%. So like I was saying, if you're riding really fast, you're probably not going to get 62 miles of range out of this thing. You'd have to ride a little bit slower. I can see my past trips and everything. I can mess with my settings, but you know, whatever. It's connected. It's just automatically logging my trip, so we're good to go. Now I do have it in kick to start mode, so I have to give it a little kick, and then I can hit the throttle and take off. And you know, even though we're down to 57% battery, the acceleration, and even in eco, is pretty solid. I mean, this is a strong scooter. Even though it is a 500 watt motor, which doesn't sound like a lot, it can peak up at 1300 watts. So it can really get cruising. You know, if we just hammer on the throttle here, and, you know, boom, we're already up 19-20 miles per hour. Use the left brake just so I can take advantage of the regen. This is just, it's such a smooth and well-built scooter. Like it feels very sturdy. It is nearly silent. I don't hear the motor at all. I can hear the tires on the pavement a little bit, but absolutely nothing from the motor until I engage this regenerative brake. Then I can, you know, hear it kick in just a little bit. But just a very smooth, quiet, refined riding experience. And now, even though even though we're in level 1 mode eco, we can still have the full, the full speed potential of the scooter is available to us. So we're going to we'll go left here, and there's a little bit of a downhill, so we can really see what we can get up to top speed wise. We've got a stop sign coming up here, so hopefully we'll see if we can get up to 25 before then. There's 22 already, 23. And we're kind of peaking out at about 23.1. But you know, keep in mind we are in eco here. I think we can probably get a little bit more out of it once we kick it on up into sport mode. But let's keep riding in eco for just a little bit here, because I want to try climbing up a steep hill over here. This is something that stood out to me for these scooters. I think most of the models from VMAX have this, where they can climb a 33% incline, which is actually quite steep. We don't have anything even remotely close to that where I live, but we've got this one right here that's actually a pretty good incline. So, and just to make it maximum challenge, we're going to get onto the incline here. We'll come to a full stop, and then we're just going to take it away here. Give it a little kick to start, hit the throttle, accelerating up the incline, no problem. We're already up to about 15 miles per hour and still accelerating. So even though we're down to around 50% battery life, no problem accelerating. And they've got a really smart BMS system in here. Just the way that they manage their power and acceleration and all that, where it can tell if you are going up a hill and the motor needs to kick in a bit more aggressively. And then if you're going at a lower speed and flat ground, not carrying a lot of weight on the scooter, then it'll dial that back to really maximize your range. All right, we are going to kick it on up into the sport mode. And so, like I mentioned before, this doesn't affect your top speed. It's just the acceleration for the most part. Just short press this ES button here, sport. Again, we got to kick start it, hit the throttle. Now the acceleration is just a lot more peppy. We're taking off with some gusto. We're past 20 miles per hour already. .8. We seem to have capped out right there. We're going uphill a little bit here, which definitely will make a difference. All right, just to be fair, we'll try this whole top speed thing again. Going on the downhill. I want to see if we can get up to that 25 marker or not. Just 22.2. I think I might have, yeah, the cruise control's kicking in, so I think I might have blocked it again. This method for unlocking the top speed is a little bit funky. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's supposed to do the trick. Okay, let's see what we can do. God, it's so fast. Look at that, already over 20. The acceleration in sport mode is just incredibly satisfying. And yet we're going a little bit faster now. We got up to 23.1. lean down to try to get a little bit less wind resistance. 23.4, 23.7. So I don't think we're gonna quite get up to 25, which is probably okay. I mean, honestly, on a scooter with these smaller 10-inch wheels, I mean, 25 is probably about the max limit for how fast you can go and still feel reasonably stable and safe. Any faster than that, you want to have bigger wheels, you want to have some kind of a steering damper on the steering column. So, you know, 23, that's solid. You know, even the normal lockdown speed of 21.7 is pretty good. Okay, we're gonna push this thing a little bit more in sport mode. I like how just maneuverable this scooter feels. We're also gonna do a little off-road riding. But yeah, it's got a big enough deck on here that I can, use the footrest back here. I can stand forward instead of having to kind of be off to the side, which happens on some smaller scooters. So definitely a fan of the riding position on here, and it feels really good. Just the maneuverability of it. It feels very agile. It does not feel heavy, even though that 64-pound curb weight is actually quite nice because it gives you just more stability. But yeah, I mean, this thing can carve. That acceleration feels nice. All right, we're going to jump off here onto some gravel. You can definitely feel some more vibration coming up, into the hand grips, but it's honestly not that bad. Like, I've ridden scooters that were designed for off-roading that felt worse on this particular road right here. And so again, gotta hand it to VMAX for just how well built this scooter is. I think it's the quality of the suspension system helps out with that. I think also just like having these, kind of thick rubber grips really helps to absorb some vibration. The rubber on top of the deck is reasonably thick as well. And so it's actually pretty fun to, tear around out here, and especially with how fast it accelerates. I mean, this thing is, quite zippy for, only a 500 watt nominal setup. All right, I think it gets even more rough out here. Let's see what we can do. I can actually feel the rear tire skid out just a little bit when I take off full throttle. I mean, it's got some serious juice. Pretty steep incline up here. Let's jump a little half curb. Yeah. Great traction from these wheels too. This is a kind of a mixed sand, gravel, grass terrain out here. Woo! Got a little bit of air coming off of that. Definitely getting dirty from riding like that, but solid performance, really good grip on these tires. These are a good hybrid. They'll do good on pavement. They'll do good on dirt, gravel, whatever kind of off-road stuff. Tubeless, puncture resistant, good solid choice. I almost forgot about the cruise control. So let's show that off, right? So since both gears, Eco and Sport, have the same top speed, if you want to go slower than that, you've got a couple options. You can go into the display settings, reduce the speed cap. That's kind of a pain. You're not going to do that. You can modulate it with the throttle, only hold it halfway down, but that gets old after a while too. So what you can do is you can triple press the power button here. 1, 2, 3. Now, cruise control is available, and like the speed unlock, it doesn't show anything to let you know that you made it available, which there's definitely some room for improvement there. But when it's activated, you'll see a little green icon pop up on the screen. So let's get going here. I'm going to try to hold the speed steady at just about like 10 miles per hour. The way you do it is you have to hold it steady at a certain throttle setting for, I don't know, a few seconds. And then when you let go, no, it didn't work. We might actually have to be going near the top speed. No, it's not kicking in. So I think I just don't have, I don't think I have the cruise control enabled here. So I'm just gonna, while we're in motion here, I'm just gonna triple press the power button again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, it should be on now. Let's see if we can get it to trigger. It's funny, I kept activating it on accident earlier. Now that I want to cruise control, no luck. So I'm just gonna hold the throttle steady here. See if it will kick in. There we go. Green icon is on right there in the center of the display, and we're locked in, you know, right around 14 miles per hour. So now I don't have to worry about the throttle, give my thumb a break, and I don't have to worry about watching my speed either. Now, this, of course, is going to be the way to really maximize your range. If you set your cruise control down here in the, you know, 15 to 18 miles per hour zone, you're going to get much, much better range. So if you're, you know, really needing to push it to try to get those 62 miles out of it, that's going to be your best bet. You can deactivate the cruise control just by tapping, you know, either brake, and that will take it off. You can use the throttle while it's on cruise control, and that will just accelerate you, you know, faster temporarily. So you can use it sort of like a boost mode. So let's let me demo that. We'll try to get the throttle, we're gonna get the cruise control locked in here. There we are. We're locked in at 15. And then, you know, suddenly I'm like, oh, I need to go faster. Just boom, hit the throttle. It's going to take off. It does disable the cruise control, but then you can, you know, lock it in at a different speed. I'm actually just going to hold down the throttle here, and we'll lock it in. There we go. Locked it in at high speed, 21, 22 miles per hour. So this would be nice if I, you know, was going on a long ride, wanted to get there in a hurry, and don't want to hold my thumb on the throttle. You know, that actually can get a bit tiring for the old thumb to hold that down for, you know, anything longer than 5 or 10 minutes. You're probably going to start to notice it. And you can also, you know, triple press the power button, 1, 2, 3, and that will, I don't think I pressed it fast enough. I'll just hit the brakes. Yeah, the whole interplay with, you know, just activating and deactivating the cruise control, a little bit of room for improvement, but still, you know, it gets the job done, and it's a great feature that actually a lot of scooters do not have. Let's see what we can do off the line here. One-on-one against the Subaru. We're barely beating them so far. Well, now they're starting to pass us, but hey, you know, 0 to 20 kept pace pretty well there. Use the old turn signals. I feel surprisingly safe riding the scooter in traffic. And, you know, having just the full array of all the lighting and signaling is definitely a bonus for that. You know, I feel pretty confident that people can see me. But another part of it is actually the acceleration. I feel like I can accelerate out of the way of danger, which is a great escape vector to have, and a lot of scooters just don't quite have the juice to do that, especially at the mid-range speeds. All right, well, we're down to 41% now, 25 miles total ridden, and no signs of slowing down so far from the VX4. I mean, the acceleration still feels just as powerful. I can still get up to top speed. We're going to push it a bit more here. We're going to do some more serious off-roading. Just, you know, because why not? So this road has got some pretty rough sections. Lots of random debris, some soft sections too. Like right here is very sandy. You can feel the wheels sliding around a little bit back there, but yeah, I'm doing all right. Lots of big rocks in right here. Probably want to try to avoid a few of those. Nice, here, there's a nice steep hill for us. Might be even, whoa, more than 30%, but piece of cake for the VX4. Woohoo! It was very maneuverable in these trees. Whoa, duck low. Okay, let's see if we can find our way back out to civilization here. Look at that. Yeah, just still so much power in the acceleration. Typically, as the battery loses capacity, you're gonna really start to lose some acceleration power, but there's no signs of slowing here. Yeah, cruising. Whoop. Alrighty, we're gonna do another hill climbing test here. Still in sport mode. We're down to what do we got, 36% on the old battery capacity meter. So this is typically most scooters and e-bikes, you can really start to feel the decline in speed by this point, but look at this. Not only do we still have lots in the tank, I mean, we're accelerating up this hill, no problem. We're almost to 20. Yeah, love that. Let's see what kind of top speed we can reach now that we're getting down there. There's 22.5. Seems we're kind of capping out right about there. All right, so we are finally starting to see the top speed decline just a little bit from losing battery capacity, but let's spin around here and go on this little bit of a downhill and see if we can get going faster. We got 22. All right, yeah, it seems about the same here, even though we've got just a little bit of a downhill advantage. All right, we're really starting to eat into it now. We're down to 26% on the battery, and a total miles ridden of 29 miles. And I can really start to feel it starting to lose a little bit of juice. I can still get going pretty fast. I mean, it's certainly no slouch, but here I'm gonna hit the throttle. Yeah, we're taking off good, but it doesn't feel quite as zippy as it did before. And we'll see what we can do top speed wise here. We seem to have capped out 21.9. There we go. 21.7. So yeah, we're losing just little chunks off the top end of the speed there, and can feel it just a little bit in the acceleration. But I do want to point out that, as I mentioned before, it's definitely outperforming other scooters in terms of the range and just the performance at the lower battery capacity. I think it really speaks to VMAX's their BMS, their battery management system. It's really well done. One thing that clues me onto that is the percentage for the battery. It doesn't have voltage sag, so even when I hit the throttle, full strength, I don't see it suddenly dip down a bunch. And a lot of scooters will do that. They'll lose 10 to 20% of their battery capacity when you're accelerating, making it really difficult to tell how much battery you actually have left. Don't have that worry on here. You can actually just see the correct amount, whether you are accelerating or not. Hey, thanks. Yeah, you can see the correct amount whether you are accelerating or not. So it pretty much eliminates range anxiety, especially having that nice percentage-based readout instead of just 4 or 5 bars. Definitely helps out. We are just about at the end of the road here, folks. 33 miles on the odometer, and we're down to 8% battery. We're almost kaput, and it's feeling significantly slower here. So I'm gonna hammer it on full throttle. I mean, we're still, honestly, the acceleration is not bad. For only 8%, 10% battery now, it went up a little bit there. But I mean, yeah, look at that. We're breaking 20 miles per hour. So I mean, this thing is still moving. Usually when you get down to this low on the battery, they start showing some real signs of just very slow acceleration, sometimes as low as half top speed. Not the case here for the VMAX VX4. So even though we've got 10 or 12-ish% remaining on the battery, we're still gonna call it quits there for the range test. You may not know this about scooter batteries, e-bike batteries, any lithium-ion batteries. It's actually not great for them to run them out below 10%. It really puts a strain on it. I don't want to be mean to this scooter here. So we finished it out with 34 miles. Not too shabby, and I've been really pushing this thing. I've been riding in sport mode most of the time. I've been at the unlocked top speed for most of those miles as well. So if you're riding less aggressively, you'll get more range range. If you're a smaller person, that'll help too. You know, I'm a pretty big dude, so that puts, you know, some weight on it, and also just a lot of wind resistance. So smaller people are definitely going to have an advantage as far as range goes too. So to you know, just sum up my thoughts from, you know, spending the last 34 miles riding the VX4. It's awesome. Like, it is an incredibly well-built scooter. It's versatile. It's great for commuting. You can do your off-road adventuring. It's a good kind of middle of the ground, one size fits all size. So, you know, I'm 6'3". I would, you know, a little bit bigger of a scooter would probably be a better fit for me, but I feel good on this. The deck's big enough for my feet so that I don't feel like I'm cramped on there. I really like just how cleanly built it is. You don't have a lot of cables hanging out all over the place. Nice, sleek, all black design. You know, I really don't have anything negative to say about this scooter other than the latching mechanism. You know, it's fiddly to get it lined up right, and it's only engaged when you're carrying the scooter. As soon as you put it down, it disengages, so it doesn't keep it secured while it's sitting on the ground. So I think there's room for improvement there. That's really the only negative thing I have to say here. It's built well, it feels solid, it's speed, it's got amazing lights and signaling capabilities. The smartphone pairing is also really well done. It's actually a surprisingly useful smartphone app. I guess another room for improvement is the cruise control and the method of unlocking the top speed with, you know, rapid pressing the power button 3 times for cruise control, 5 times to unlock the top speed. It's just a little bit fiddly, and sometimes I had trouble telling, you know, if either one of them was turned on or not. But that's a fairly new feature for the US version of these scooters, so I'm sure they will improve that with future firmware updates. Now, if you're, you know, thinking about buying one of these, then, you know, the pricing is a little bit towards the premium side here. You're looking at $1,200 for just the standard VX4, and if you want the extended range version, the GT, that's going to run you $1,450. So, you know, they're not cheap. There's definitely cheaper stuff out there, but I think that you're really getting your money's worth with these, and there's a lot to be said for peace of mind. You know, with scooters, like with anything else, you get what you pay for. And so with these, you get the, you know, 24-month warranty, which is awesome for a scooter. The scooter and the batteries are UL certified, so you know that they're safe. You know, the excellent lighting and controls and everything we've talked about. Just the build quality is really solid. And the VMAX brand name really goes a long ways. These guys have built up a great reputation for quality in the, you know, 8 or 9 years that they've been making scooters over in Europe. It helps that they are their own OEM. They own their own manufacturing facility, so they have complete control over the manufacturing process, and especially just the quality control part of that process. Now, depending on what your use case is, it could be worth checking out some of VMAX's other stuff, because they've got scooters that are quite a bit cheaper here. So if you're looking like for purely a city commuter one that's a little bit more lightweight, they've got some of those. If you want something that's even faster than this, they've got that as well. Remember, this one is the all-arounder. It's a great commuter, and it can tackle the off-roads, you know, having the suspension on the front and in the rear there. The extra range is definitely nice if you're wanting to go out on a longer adventure ride. So, you know, this is the premium all-arounder, but if you've got a more specific use case in mind, then definitely check out some of their other offerings. All right, my friends, I think that's about all I got for you for this review. I'm going to be continuing to ride this, as it's one of my main modes of transportation now. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Let me know down in the comments section. You can also check the description for a full written review, where we have even more details than in this video. We've got a bunch of photos of the componentry and stuff on there as well. That's over at ridereview.com. Thanks for watching this video, guys. Ride safe out there, and I'll catch you in the next one.